So welcome, folks. We're going to give you guys some time to join us here as people start to file in, broadcasting live right now from the Annie Fry YouTube, the Annie Fry Show Facebook page, and Twitter as well. And I have some very important guests with us here. You know some of their faces. I know you know that some of their voices, and some new friends that we have here. First, Brad, producer Brad. Hi, Brad, in his little man cave down there. Thank you for helping me put this together and featuring comments and such as we go through. Make sure you say hi in the comments as you're joining on here. Ryan Cunningham is with us right now. Ryan, thank you so much for being here. Ryan Cunningham is the founder of Speak for Students. Ryan, it's been a good night, and we're going to get to that in a second. Just wanted to give you the opportunity to say hello, and thank you for being here.
Yeah, Annie, thank you for having me on this evening. You know, it was a good night, and we look forward to talking about that.
Yeah, I can't wait. And we also have Steve Lucie on with us, who is he is with Awake Illinois and as I was talking to Ryan about Steve, he's like, oh, and he's with this, oh, and he's done this, and he's been a longtime school board member, very active. Steve, just real quick, give us the, elevator speech here for what your involvement has been in this push that we've been having. We know of it certainly downstate in Southern Illinois, but Steve, it's not just Southern Illinois. It's all over the country, but it's all over Illinois as well.
Absolutely. I'm from Western Illinois, way over on the west side, near the Iowa-Missouri border, but over in Illinois. So I'm probably a couple hours north of Ryan, 2.5, and then 4.5 hours from Chicago. But yeah, I was on the school board at Warsaw, Illinois for 17 years, and I got off last April, and I founded a group called We Stand for Our Students, and also am a director for Awake Illinois right now as well, and we got connected with them. So yeah, we're really covering the southern part of Illinois all the way up to Chicago, and that's a big deal, I think.
Yes, it's completely a big deal. And, the reason why, Steve, I'm so grateful for that you're here is because we've had Ryan on the radio show here in St. Louis many times, and we've been following the fight here specifically locally. But I think it's really important that Illinoisans understand how broad this is and how unified Illinois, people who are invested in common sense in the state of Illinois actually are. For the first time that, I've been following politics professionally on the air for quite some time now. This is really something, and this is a big movement. So Ryan, let's get to the news tonight, something we've been covering on our show. This is just breaking really as we speak here. Ryan, tell us about your experience tonight at a school board meeting you attended and what that means for the movement.
Yeah, so tonight, the city of Collinsville, let me kind of frame the set here for a second. Last week, the Collinsville School District had a school board meeting just 1 week ago tonight, in which it was jam-packed. And, the parents spoke up at that school board meeting. There was even a Bosnian immigrant that explained, what he came from and why he was advocating that our freedoms are at stake here. And that's ultimately what we're looking for. So obviously that school board meeting made national attention. It got national press, it got national media, and it's still going to this day. But what really made the impact is those parents having that voice gave kids a voice. So for this past week, those kids from the Collinsville School District, they stood up, they walked proud into that school, and they stood united to go in there that, hey, we're going to peacefully take our masks off. They were segregated and put into, the auditorium. But each day that went by, more and more and more kids stood up and went to that auditorium proudly and, advocated for themselves. So tonight, the Collinsville School Board met, and those kids spoke so eloquently about their freedoms and about if they've learned one thing through this entire process, out of all the pain that they have been through, what something that resounded with me tonight was they learned how important a vote is. And that just absolutely resonated, how important a vote is. And that vote tonight was they get to go mask recommended. Obviously what that means is mask optional for those kids.
Yeah.
Yes.
Call it what it is. Whatever lingo makes you sleep well at night, when our kids get to go to school, and wear a mask if that's what your family decides, or not wear a mask if your family decides. That decision is now going to be made in the home where it belongs. We've seen that all across the state. We still have the Edwardsville School District is where I pay my tax dollars. I do send my kids to a parochial school, actually in the Collinsville School District, that elected to go mask optional already. But the Edwardsville School District still hasn't. And this has got a lot of people scratching their heads right now as to why they haven't given parents back their right. And really, any right that you have to ask to have returned to you is not really a right. You're asking permission. It's across the state. Steve, up in your neck of the woods, what kind of balance is there between school districts who have looked at the TRO from Judge Grishow and said, we're not going to give that kid and that kid and that kid the right to choose. This is going to apply to all students in our district. And how many of them have said, no, we're going just by the letter of the ruling here and keeping other kids from being able to choose for themselves?
Well, so initially after that ruling, I live in Hancock County, Illinois, and most of our schools just immediately Sunday or Saturday put out word that they would be optional. And that was a good deal. Over east of me a little ways, Macomb, the home of Western Illinois University, that school district in Macomb was a little more stringent, and they just allowed the kids that were on the actual TRO for a few days. But again, the students rose up, the parents spoke out, and people made calls to the superintendent and the school board. And I don't remember what day it was. It was Thursday or Friday last week. They also decided to go mask recommended. So really, all of my region where we stand for our students is from Hancock County all the way down to like Greene County, Illinois, and up north to Henderson County. All of those areas are completely optional. Now, the people I'm friends with and work with from Awake, Illinois, obviously are in the suburbs, and they're having a little more difficult time. But a lot of those districts, Naperville 203, for instance, just went mask recommended. They're going to be tomorrow.
That was the Naperville one was a big story. That one, that dad who spoke, I saw a woman who spoke, I feel like there are so many people that aren't the lions out there, Ryan and Steve, that you guys have been on this issue particularly, but they want to be heard and they don't really know how to dissent in a way that is advocating. And they feel like initially you're made to feel like if you're going to dissent on something that you're really going against something that somebody else said. This is what you do, this is what you write. People want to go along to get along. They're not confrontational people. But like Ryan said, you guys stood up and you gave kids a voice. And when it comes down to something like this, you got to do that for those kids. And Steve, to hear your story about those suburban schools that are having a more difficult time, I think that's the story for Edwardsville as well.
Yes, I've been aware of Edwardsville. I wasn't sure what Ryan was going to announce tonight. I was hoping that it was going to be Edwardsville too, but I'm glad for Collinsville. I think Edwardsville will surely make the right choice. What strikes me as strange is all of these schools kind of fall back and say that they haven't interpreted the judge ruling, quite like the rest of us have, and they're still waiting for the appeal or this or that. And really, it isn't about that anymore. It's about doing the right thing for kids and standing up for your community. And that's what we need from these other schools. We've been talking about this for 2 years now. Really, a year and a half has been a big push for all of us, Ryan and Awake and everybody. And we just need schools now to do the right thing. And always the right thing is to let parents decide for their children.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's Michelle. Hi, Michelle. Sorry, Brad and Steve just covered up your face. Michelle on Facebook says, awesome, proud of Collinsville students. Belleville District 201 school board voted to go mask optional tonight too. Grade school is still masks as of now, but the board is meeting tomorrow. That's progress in the right way. And those kids, without the advocacy of these parents who are standing up and saying, honestly, you've got two conflicting entities here telling kids what's right. And it's the parents' job to be in there and advocate for their kids and what's best for their kids, and to say, this is a complicated situation, kiddos, but we're going to sit down and we're going to talk about why we're choosing to do what we're going to do. And you have my support and my blessing to go in, and there's going to be potentially some conflict. You're going to have to stand up and say what you're doing, and they might put you in a separate room for the time being, but this is why we believe it's right. The more that we allow entities or tyrants, I will just say, like Governor Pritzker, to come in and tell us how we're going to live our lives, and just take our hands off and say, well, he's the governor. Good grief, look around the country. He's like one of the only ones who is doing this. He is the outlier here. And I saw on Twitter today, and I'm trying to think if it was a writer for one of the bigger publications that I follow, said, oh, it's Candace. It was Candace Owen. She said that she was today years old, where she realized that we are the only country that mandates masks on kids. And I did not know that. That's wild stuff. So when we're standing up for our kids because we have a JB Pritzker in the way, it is a teaching lesson that we as parents have no choice but to participate in. And what you guys have done so far has really given courage to those parents who have that trepidation and their heart starts pounding. I mean, I've had people reach out to me from school boards and say, Annie, I know what I want to do. I just don't know how to say this. I don't know how to communicate it. And I'm like, you just got to go do it and give it the chance, put it out there. Ryan, speaking of Edwardsville, do you expect them to follow suit here quickly, or have they punted a little bit on the issue? I would have thought, like Steve said, that once Collinsville chose to do it, that Edwardsville would follow suit. I haven't heard that that's the case.
So, tonight, I'm not quite sure what Edwardsville did, but they had a committee meeting scheduled this evening. And they quickly had the bait and switch, and that committee meeting was quickly changed at about 4:00 to a full-blown special session. By time some of our group members actually got there, whether that was the conversation they were going to have or not, we don't know, but they ended up talking about Panorama instead. So that was the narrative that they brought up tonight. But they've made an assurance that they think Wednesday that they will be taking a vote, and they put it back on the schedule for Wednesday, pending the temporary restraining order. I do think they're going to keep punting, though.
So when do we expect the appeal? I mean, the appeal has to be by Friday, right?
Yeah, so it could be as early as Wednesday, or and it could be as late as Friday. So it's going to be later this week.
So Steve, tell me about like family. Tell me how this has evolved over time. Awake Illinois, I've mentioned them on my radio show here in St. Louis before, but I think people are going to be more familiar with Speak for Students in down south here than they are Awake Illinois. But I think it's really important to expose interested parties in the state of Illinois, especially this year, to these grassroots organizations that are taking shape all over the state. Tell me a little bit about Awake Illinois, where it came from, and how it's built momentum through this particular issue.
Well, Shannon Adcock founded Awake Illinois after she had run for the school board up there at Naperville last year and did not get on. And she's just a mom that's very passionate and conservative valued. And she just knew that this was wrong. So she decided to go do something about it. So she started this. She's very talented with technical stuff and has a beautiful way of putting out the message. And she founded Awake Illinois, and another guy that's a director, the vice president, Josh McBroom, he jumped on board, and for some reason or another, we connected. I was asked to go to Glen Ellen, Illinois last summer to do a talk with, actually Darren Bailey was there and some other politicians. And I went up there. They'd heard about Warsaw, Illinois. So Warsaw is the school I was from on the school board. And we passed a resolution in June, one of the first schools in the state back in the summer, that we were going to start mask optional coming in the fall. So that got a big snowball rolling, and a lot of people jumped on that bandwagon. I think we ended up with 400 or 500, 600 schools at that time until JB Pritzker had his new executive order on August 4th. And I remember the day specifically. But anyway, that's how my name got out, because of Warsaw and our leadership and what we did to start out. And so I got connected with Shannon up at that event. And then the rest is history. I joined with them, and we kind of pooled our resources and met Ryan along the way, and here we are. We've all together done this, and we've given parents a platform and a place where they can go ask questions. I think I get questions daily, constantly, just because I was on the school board for so long. I know pretty much everything there is to know about school board policy and how they're run, and that has been a big help along this, making sure parents know how to act in school board meetings and where to go and what an agenda looks like and all of that. So I think that's been a big help.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. Just having somebody who can provide people the guidance, the people who already have the passion and the heart and the sensibility to say, no, we got to do something here. I'm just not 100% sure what or where or how. Ryan, let's go back to you here real quick. You had another update about a local school here in the Metro East that might interest a lot of people.
Yes, I'm sitting here, my phone's blowing up because there's meetings all over the Metro East tonight. But we just got news Bethalto just went mask optional as well. So they've not had an easy road at this. I'm sure you've seen the protest, that let's call it the rally that they had, that they just wanted to send their students in and outside. And they called an emergency day because it was scheduled.
They got school off Friday.
Yeah. Just, purely because they had this scheduled ahead of time, right? But they've got this mask optional now, so that's good news. All of Madison County is coming in line. Got to get Edwardsville though.
Have either of you, Ryan or Steve, heard of kids that have gone to school when they've gone mask optional and still being segregated, like in a way that is like not appropriate?
Yes.
So go ahead, Steve.
I've heard some stories from some schools up north that have done that. We had one local parent that was on the TRO, and her child was in a local school here, and it was a college course. It was a dual credit course, and it was actually in shop. And that teacher, he wasn't made aware from his administration, which was sad. I mean, that needs to be addressed, but
right.
We will address that. And he had asked the kid, it was a high school boy, to put the mask on. So there was some conflict there. The mother, she did a very good job and went to the school and pointed out that there was a restraining order. So they got that resolved, and that was minor. I've heard some pretty bad horror stories, but again, nothing I've seen firsthand or anything. So I don't know the details of everything, but you see him out there. Ryan probably has.
Well, let's bring in another guest here. I'm excited to bring Blaine Willauer. And from what I understand, Spider-Man is running around there. He popped on. Was that Spider-Man, Blaine, that I saw pop in there?
Yeah, Spider-Man makes a lot of appearances around here. Where you at, Spider-Man?
There you
Yeah,
I love
this
that.
is Spider-Man. This is Raylan. He's in first grade, and we just got back from a basketball game. We started a new private school down here in Effingham, and my three boys go there, and they got their first basketball victory tonight.
Yay! Congratulations! Did he wear that to the game?
No, he didn't wear this to the game. He would if you let him.
That would maybe be an asset on the basketball floor. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I got to tell you, Annie, I've been watching this for the last few minutes here, and I'm a little bit starstruck. I see the Cattleman there, and Brian Cunningham, the Stanford Students guys. That these are the regular folks that the state reps like us, that we follow these guys. We watch these guys. They're kind of people after our own hearts. Regular people rising up to the occasion and doing the tough stuff to hold folks like me and folks on their school boards accountable to make the right decisions for kids. That's not an easy thing to do, and I really admire these guys. That's
I love that you say that, because for people who are maybe not familiar with any of the individual people, because we're all kind of from different corners of the state of Illinois. Blaine Willauer is a state rep. If I can see my show sheet in my head, it's District 107, right?
That's right. Yep, that's correct. South Central Illinois.
Blaine is a regular guest on my show. I've been at events with you and with the crew that has been advocating for basically, I say common sense. It's weird that that's something that we have to advocate for. It's just not as common as you would like it to be. But Blaine, I'm going to just give you the opportunity to react here a little bit. You probably haven't heard the news. I don't know how much you've been following these Metro East schools, but Collinsville voted tonight to go mask recommended, which was a big swing from the handful of districts over here right across the Mississippi River, from St. Louis at least, that have said, no, we're going to wait until the appeal goes through and then we're going to make a decision. I don't know what kind of decision they're going to make after the appeal. Like there's anything left to discuss. Yeah. Edwardsville has not done that yet, but Collinsville has. Ryan just made note that Bethalto has gone mask recommended. They shut down on Friday for an emergency day to sit and think or something. Just tell me a little bit about the evolution that you have seen, Blaine, as somebody who serves in the General Assembly in Springfield. And I can only imagine being in the super minority of Republicans in the House with a super minority of Republicans in the Senate, and the biggest tyrant of them all, J.B. Pritzker, who you don't even know if he knows where Springfield is on a map, to see there's stuff getting done in the state of Illinois. It is in the name of common sense. It's in the name of freedom and liberty. And it's coming from folks like Ryan and Steve and the people who they're following. Like, how refreshing is that?
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's why I'm excited to be here. And yeah, we are the super minority, and I say that there's about 5 or 6 of us that are a super minority of the super minority.
The super minority.
Yes,
but you have Spider-Man.
That actually stand for something. That fight for something. It didn't take us long. 2 years ago, 18 months ago, to figure out that this is not working. There's too many people being marginalized and disenfranchised, and students and working class people were bearing the brunt of every bit of these pandemic mitigation. So the main thing that I tried to do throughout this whole time, whether it be schools or businesses or anything else, is just do my best to educate people on what their actual rights are and what their actual levels of risk were. And then just let local people, let individuals govern themselves the way that they see fit, and that worked really, really well down here for businesses. And I live in the freest county in the country. I've been all over the place. Fayette County, my home county, has been the freest county in the country through this whole thing, because we've got strong leadership that's advocated for common sense. So we were able to do that with businesses and everything else, but the school system was just such a tough nut to crack on this, because there's so many layers of bureaucracy and there's so much threat and coercion, and you've got so many people on your school boards that aren't really engaged. Your superintendents really run the show on all this, and they all come through the system. They're educrats. They care more about sustaining an unsustainable system than they do about actually educating kids. So that was a lot tougher, but we kept fighting. And this fall, I'm from Beecher City, is my hometown, and Beecher City has not donned a mask throughout this entire pandemic. They had a school board that decided that, hey, we're going to, with a lot of pressure from folks like me and other people, that we're going to just do what is best for the kids. Because when you boil it down to this, and I've told you this before, and if you take all the other factors away from these decision makers, mm-hmm. and just say, hey, go do what's best for the kids, it's a slam dunk. They'll be making decisions that Collinsville and these other places made the whole time. But you gotta get through that, and they decided to do that. They got all the threats. They got some community uprising. They got a lot of things. They took it to court. They won. And they haven't donned the mask, and not a darn thing's happened to them the whole time. They're gonna be the only school district in probably the country that's never donned the mask, because they had the nerve and the foresight to stand up and do what's right. And when you start, that's a small school, but then you start seeing the bigger schools. In central Illinois, we had Charleston. Yep. Eastern Illinois University last week, they were a big domino to fall, and then Effingham on Friday, and you got Collinsville tonight, I mean, you still got a Marxist regime there in District 7 in Edwardsville that's segregating students and doing all kinds of crazy things. I've got emails from the parents there of kindergartners that are coming to school without masks, and they're having to sit in the library by themselves. They're having to eat lunch by themselves, even though nobody's wearing a mask when they're eating lunch. And they're having to do this wrong. It's completely wrong. It's disgusting. What the hell's wrong with these people?
They're in many cases they're unchecked. They haven't been checked before. Ryan, I mean, I'm sure Steve knows this as well, but Ryan, you just decided that this was an important enough cause that, like Blaine was talking about, there's risk involved, but there's risk in not doing anything too. I mean, not doing anything is absolutely a choice. And so you decided down here that you wanted to get this process started. What have you noticed when the pushback starts to gain some momentum? I mean, I don't want to say that the dominoes just start falling easily, because I don't feel like this has been easy for you at all. But what has been your experience from the time you're like, you know what, we're doing this, to where we are now?
So from the very first meeting, when we tried to get Triad to go optional, to where we are today, if you were to ask me if this is where it turned, I would tell you no. But, I didn't expect that. But what we did find is the people and the parents, there was a need, there was hurt. They needed a solution, and they needed a platform to have that solution come into play. So where we're at today is because of everyday parents being able to stand up, speak their voice, make their voices heard, and know that they have the ability to make their voices heard. Because without that, we wouldn't be here. If those parents didn't do all that, we would not be here. People like Steve and Shannon, and this is not about, whose group is who. We're very much in tune with each other. And the fact that we can show that we're in tune with each other, it allows the parents to show they can be in tune with each other. And we have seen so much cross-platform within the school districts of collaborating with the parents. Hey, how did you do this? How did you make your school go mask optional? And we have offline meetings with each other, and we give each other the resources to speak up. Everybody has learned so much through this process.
I love that. And it just shows you that, like, the persistence has paid off. It's important I want to make sure that I mention here, for the people who are watching, we've pushed this out quite a bit. And Ryan, I know you've done this with your groups. I think Awake Illinois has done it as well. We are pushing to have a Show Me Your Smile rally tomorrow from 3:30 p.m. to 5 p.m. at your local school district. If they've been, like Blaine was saying, behind the Show Me the Smiles from the beginning, celebrate that and show up in numbers and see how many people are, agreeing with you and supporting this and wanting to push it even further. If you're in a place like I am, where my tax dollars go to the Edwardsville School District, it is important that we show up en masse. And I'm asking, I want the Collinsville people to support the Collinsville schools decision, but we need to show up en masse at the Edwardsville School District building at the Hadley House tomorrow here in Southern Illinois to say, no, we're done with this. You can say what you want. We've made our decisions. You serve us. This is how it's going to go. And people can sign up or go look at the Annie Fry Show Facebook page. Awake Illinois has shared it. Speak for Students has shared it. Everybody has shared it, and people need to be involved. Steve, you're going to say something?
No, I just absolutely. And I think that it just takes people to have the courage to follow somebody and do it. That's what it does. And after we've been through so much of this, there's been so much trauma in these schools. For someone to see these smiles now is amazing. I'll give you a brief story. Shannon knows this. It was on our Awake Zoom this week. But my wife is a teacher at Warsaw School, and she's been a teacher for 20 years. She's early childhood education. She's a reading specialist. And this week, or last week, was the first time since March 12th, 2020, that she had a whole room of second graders she was teaching phonics to, so she could see all of their faces. And we've all seen what some of these teachers have put out videos, how you can't teach phonics you can't see the letter sounds. And I'm not good at it, but my wife does. And so that was a huge thing. The kids were, she was crying that night when she came home. The kids were smiling. They were talking to each other a little bit, just being second graders. So you had to kind of say, hey, we listened to Mrs. Lucie, but it was a joyous occasion, and we're seeing that all across the state now, and it's a huge thing to celebrate. I mean, it has been a really long, hard road. I'm frustrated with some schools still. I've been frustrated with people. I thank the representative. It's an honor to be on a show with you, sir, and your leadership. We need more like you, but I just think it's a time now for everybody to start healing a little bit. We need these schools to come around. We need the governor to do the right thing,
right?
And we need to see these smiles.
Amen to that. You know, Blaine, I wanted to ask you a question. I got this from a listener or from a viewer right now that didn't want to put this up in the actual chat. It says, if you get a chance, ask Blaine what kind of role the IEA, which is the Illinois Education Association, and the IFT, which is the Illinois Federation of Teachers, have played in this. Look at this. Look at the smile on his face. How much time do you need right now?
Annie, we could completely go on forever. What role have they played in it? This is their deal. This is completely their deal. The Illinois Education Association and the Illinois Federation of Teachers are absolute. They're Marxist organizations that have pushed this stuff all the way across the country, and they own all kinds of politicians, Democrat and Republican. I'm the first person, Democrat or Republican, to hold this seat that's not primarily funded by the Illinois Education Association.
Wow.
And these associations don't care about students. They care about their own power. You know, if they cared about students, we'd be giving students education options. And you know, we don't do that, even as Republicans in this state, because we're too afraid of them people. Special interests run everything. And you know, I could go on and on about that, Annie. But you need to look at your local legislator, whether you've got a Democrat or a Republican, and look at who their primary funders are. If they're getting all this money from the special interests, if they're getting it from the Illinois Education Association, you've taken every bit of anything that they say about reform on anything, disregard it, because their funding is going to dry up once they try to reform anything, whether on the economic perspective or the education choice perspective. So just yeah, I mean,
well, my representative is Katie Stewart, and I have been quite vocal about my thoughts about Representative Katie Stewart.
Katie Stewart is the worst. Katie Stewart is probably more out of step with her constituency than any other representative in the state of Illinois. She is an absolute far left lunatic.
Yeah, she's gonna get replaced in November.
She wants men in your girl's bathroom. Okay, she made a big speech about it on the floor of the House. People need to know that in the Metro East area, she's very out of step with the working class values that we have in the Metro St. Louis area.
Completely. Ryan, tell me, you were mentioning a little bit about something that the attorney who's been behind all this, Thomas DeVore, who is just a firebrand of sorts, has taken follow-up action with CPS, the Chicago Public.
My constituent.
Yours? He's yours?
Yes, Tom is. And I take some amount of pride in hooking Tom up with a lot.
That's fantastic. Ryan, tell us about CPS and, you know, the a lot of acronyms here. The Temporary Restraining Order, TRO, and CPS, the Chicago Public School System. They, of course, kind of to what Blaine was saying, they kind of just were doing what they want. There's a court ruling, there's a court order, and they're like, eh. And then they go do what they want. And Tom DeVore was like, well, I'm just going to do something about that.
Yeah, so CPS, Chicago Public Schools, they think that they do not need to follow the TRO because of their bargaining agreement. And they believe that their bargaining agreement supersedes the judge's order. So, you know, Tom has tried to do the right thing and reach out to them to get them to comply. Finally, enough's enough, right? The facts are the facts. And he followed a motion of contempt with Judge Gershauer. She answered it within an hour, and a hearing date has been set for next week. So the Chicago Public School Superintendent will be brought before Judge Gershauer with the principal. So there's severe consequences.
It's like the principal's going to the principal's office. This is going to be fun to watch.
Bargaining, and nothing like a system that's out of control when you're literally bargaining away a third party's due process rights.
Yeah, there's some power. And, Blaine, you can speak to this too. I believe I'm correct when I say that doesn't the mayor appoint the school board of CPS? The school board in the Chicago Public School System's school board is not even voted on by the people who it serves. It's appointed by the mayor. So Lori Lightfoot has picked the people who are on that. That's insanity. Only in Chicago.
It's insanity, Annie, in a real world where there is real checks and balances. But what is going to be more insane is next year when we have elected school boards in the city of Chicago. Who the heck do you think is going to be funding all those candidates and putting all their people forward? Is going to be even worse. Chicago Public or the Chicago Teachers Union, who is sending delegations to Venezuela to study education down there. That's who's going to be funding those people moving forward. So, careful what you wish. People in the city of Chicago need to get informed, get engaged, because the people that are hurt the worst by their terrible policies are the inner city folks that again bear the brunt of all terrible policy in the state of Illinois.
Steve, before we wrap this up, talk to me a little bit about Awake Illinois. I mean, we've talked a little bit about where it's been, but tell me a little bit about where it's going and how people can connect to it and be a part, in a broader sense across the state. The unification of these groups and these interested parties, I think, is a really important thing right now.
So Awake Illinois has many, many chapters now, and you can go on awakeillinois.com and find that information. Also Twitter, Facebook, and she's on Instagram as well. It's just Awake Illinois. It's easy to find. We're moving forward. I mean, we have a lot of work to do with the state. To be honest, school choice is something that's brought up. We see now that the face of education in Illinois has been totally exposed. The unions have been exposed, and the indoctrination system all the way up through. It has to be changed. We have the best and brightest of our kids coming out of Illinois, going to other states to college. My daughter's one of them. She's going to graduate from a college in Iowa as an educator, and she will not come back to Illinois and teach, likely. So that's what we have to change. We have to change the whole system from the ground up and get back to good common sense education. So Awake Illinois is going to be moving that needle. We're going to hold people accountable, and we're going to inform the parents, and we are going to push things like school choice and, stop some of this divisive rhetoric that's going on in our schools, and hold school boards accountable, hold superintendents accountable, and get back to good, solid education instead of all this social welfare system stuff that we got going on. And it's just, it has to be just real people speaking up and getting on your school boards. We're going to be pushing out candidates for local school boards that support this kind of thing. And even at a higher level, we have to have good people running for office all the way across the state, from school board to county board to the governor's office, all the way.
Yeah, I agree so much. I was going to ask you that question. Steve, you answered it. Ryan, have you noticed here in the Metro East area that there is an interest that goes beyond just, I'd like the mask to be off my kid's face. I'd like to make that choice for my child. Has that translated into who are these school board members and who is up for reelection, and people becoming more aware, if not more engaged in these local elections?
Absolutely. And not only are they aware of the local elections, but they are more so aware of what is going on in their schools. It's like drinking from a fire hose for these parents right now. They're like, wow, we have been out of touch with our school system for so long, and we have just let it run on overdrive and just let it go. And they're absolutely overwhelmed with what's going on, particularly the agendas pushed by the teachers unions. And yes, we have a team of people in the background building potential candidates all over the Metro East area to run for these school board positions. So we have definitely been working on that in the background, and it's going to be a big push for our group.
Definitely a stay tuned opportunity. Blaine, before we let you go, you serve in the Illinois State House, like you said, in a super minority. How important is it, does that kind of bubble up if the local elections, which, I mean, I do 3 hours of radio every day, and all anyone ever wants to talk about is Trump or Biden, like, oh, but like on a local level, being able to actually invest in the things that are really going to impact your home, like nearly immediately. These school board meetings are changing school for kids tomorrow. Governor Pritzker can't even do that. He says February 28th, like, if you're good, basically, is what the governor said to the people. How important is it for those hyper local races to be paid as much, if not even more attention to than, of course, the Senate races and the big federal races that most people pay attention to?
Yeah, Annie, we talk about this a lot. I think I've talked about it a lot on your show. There's a lot of things that I can do as a state representative on advocacy stuff. But when you think back at the last 2 years, who are the people that are making the decisions that directly affect your lives, your kids' lives, whether your business is going to stay open? It's your school board members, it's your county board members, it's your city council members, and we got to make sure that we've got good people that are experienced and have some real world experience and some common sense. Critical thought is something that has been erased from our society. We need critical thinkers on our local school boards, and this stuff just goes away. You've seen a lot of these school boards over the past week and a half, 2 weeks. They're making these decisions, and they're saying these decisions are standing no matter what. They don't care what the appellate court does. They don't care what anything else does. They care about what's best for their kids and what's best for their communities, and they're going for that. And they don't go for that if you don't get pressure and encouragement from the folks that are on this show and so many others, the Awake Illinois people, the Stand for Students, all of these people, your show, Annie, what we've been doing for the last 2 years, giving encouragement and pressure to people to make the right decisions. It makes a difference. All it takes is a few, and few becomes many.
Well, I want to ask you real quick, Blaine, Chris's question here. Can you ask about HB 4083 that stops ISBE from mandating masking in schools in the state? And I was like, I got to make sure I don't catch him off guard here. But I just looked up the bill and your name is on it, so I hope you know about it. Can you talk about that a bit?
Yeah, that's fine. That's a good bill. I support that stuff. The bottom line is we're not going to get this stuff through the legislature anytime soon. We can put this stuff forward, and we can show people that we're standing up and giving people a reason to vote for more people like us, so that we get enough in there where we actually can do some of this stuff. But unfortunately, right now we can advocate. I can give you all the information you need as a local entity of government to know that you're well within your rights and your responsibilities to stand up, take a stand for what's right. And unfortunately, it's the Republican Party is so bad in the state of Illinois that we're requiring locals to stand up and make this difference. And like what Steve and Ryan and some of those others said, they're gearing up candidates, and I'm excited about that because we need that. I need help. The 5 of us need help in Springfield that actually stand for something. So,
well, that's where we come in, and we're gonna advocate for that. And Blaine, thank you. I'm gonna let you guys get back to your Valentine's Day evening. Thanks for spending it with me. I mean, that's very very kind of you, gentlemen. I know you've got kids and significant others waiting for you, and I just want to say thank you for everything you've done so far.
Yeah, just stay tuned. We're going back to Springfield tomorrow, and we're going to be making some stands for students there. Whether it's just a couple of us or if it's all of us. So we're in this fight.
Amen. Brad, stay on with me. Blaine, thank you so much for being here. And Ryan, speakforstudents.org. That's how people connect to you. Is that right?
That's correct. Yes.
Is there anything else you wanted to add before we let you go, Ryan?
I echo Blaine's testimony there that, here in Madison County, look what we've done. We have not just been to school board meetings. We've overtaken the county board. Look at the amount of resolutions that we've gotten pushed through, that the people are standing up. And we're telling Springfield, we're telling everybody else in this state what we want, whether it be the mask optional resolution, whether it be the mandate resolution, we're speaking up, and your voice matters.
Yeah, it sure does, and it's being heard. Speakforstudents.org. Steve, awakeillinois.com, you said. Is that the right URL?
That's
awakeillinois.com?
correct.
Anything else you want to add before we let you go, Steve?
I just want to thank you all too for all your voices, and I'll echo what they said, what Ryan just said. People just need to be brave enough to stand up, and that's been tough through some of this. I mean, I've seen a lot of people get pushback from the left and different ones, and it's hard to be that person to stand up. I will say that, I started We Stand for Our Students and got to Awake Illinois from my kitchen table, just sitting down with neighbors, and we decided to start something. And that's what it was. There were one or two of us at the start, and those people are still with me, but it just takes one sometimes to voice your opinion and be strong enough and bold enough. And we joke all the time with our Awake leaders that, we take a lot of punches. And one of the lines I say is, we can get hit pretty hard, but we're still going to be standing. I mean, we're not even bleeding yet. We don't even have a bloody lip. So we're still moving on. And look what we've done, all of us.
Yeah.
And we're going to continue to do that. And I just want to thank you for having us on and giving us this platform. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Steve, Ryan, Blaine, thank you so much. You guys have a great evening.
You're the best. Thank you.
Thanks,
talk
Annie.
to you all
Appreciate
soon.
it.
I appreciate it so much. Brad, thank you for helping me produce all of this here in the background. You've been great. I mean, it's pretty neat, don't you think, to see this being kind of a statewide thing?
I love, and it's grassroots too, right? That's, to me, is what's really cool, especially what Steve said there at the end, how it just started around his kitchen table. I think one of the big problems that we face as people is we look at this and it's like, it's such this big problem. What can I do? Well, it's like eating an elephant, right? One bite at a time. So Steve got together, started talking to his neighbors, and the next thing you know, Awake Illinois is formed, and it's grown into a movement, and they've affected change in Illinois. Yeah. I mean, these schools are dropping mask mandates because of grassroots movements against them. So I think that's what's really cool, and that brings hope to me.
And it can't be overstated that, like, the push is for people to have mass choice. It's not to say, don't ever put a mask on a kid again. It's to say you choose whatever you want. If you're a family that believes in masking and you know that, masking works and you've got your particular reasons, you do that. That's fine. I won't judge you for it. I won't even say anything to you. I'll offer you a mask if I have an extra one and you need it. There's nothing wrong with that. But we do need to get back to the point where we are working very, very aggressively to get to say these are our rights and we are having them. We are keeping them. And you don't get to come in here and take them. And I just think it's so great to see these people who are standing up. And like you said, we're all average, everyday people. There's nothing particularly special about us that puts us in a position to be able to do this. When you see these people do that, you can do it too. And I just think it's great. And also, Brad, you hear me get this on the air all the time. I don't know how much it hits you, but being an Illinois resident yourself, why do you live there? It's beyond hope. Well, I don't know that it is. Like, listening to these people, I don't know that it is. It just needs the right people to lead the charge and to bring the rest of the crowd with them. And I think that that's actually starting to happen.
Yeah. I don't think I encounter it near as much as you do because I just don't encounter the volume of interaction that you do online. But
I can start forwarding them to you if you like.
I'm good. I dive in every now and then on your chats and throw a few bows. But no, I get it. And I don't get it from people who live in Illinois. I get it from people who don't live in Illinois. They're like, what keeps you there? And
what
it's
are you doing?
Man, it's like, you don't understand. This is it. This is home. And like, I liken it to like giving up my home to my house to somebody who has no right to it. Forget that. They can't have it. And that's kind of my attitude toward it. And that's why I stay. I don't know who's going to be the last one to turn out the light, but it's either going to be you or me. And
we fight over that.
Yeah. But like you live on grew up on a Centennial farm. My in-laws have a Centennial farm. Whenever my in-laws pass away, that's going to pass down to either my wife or her brother or both of them. And it's going to be our farm, right? My family had a farm that would have been a Centennial farm if they didn't have to sell to move to downscale and whatnot, and 7 kids to divide it between. But it's home. You say it all the time. It's home. It's Illinois. It's home. And I, like I said, you can't have it. I'm not going to give up without a fight.
It's mine. I want to show, I put some things together here. This is my Photoshop. So this is the sign that I'm printing. I'm printing 50 of them. I'm paying for it out of my own pocket. There's nobody who's coming to me to say, here's some money, why don't you print these? I'm paying for these out of my own pocket. And this rally tomorrow, so the Show Me Your Smile rally, we want to go out and be supportive to these school districts that have taken the stand and done the right thing. And we want to support the kids. It's more about supporting the kids than it is really about supporting the school districts. That they're fine. They're going to be fine. But we want to stand out. And here's the thing. And this is a personal invitation from me to you. If you're watching right now and you don't have a kid who's in the school district, you have to remember that we all pay taxes to these school districts. And if you look at your local property taxes, the percentage of that amount of money that goes to your local education system is astronomical. It is a very, very high percentage. And it's important to understand that that means that you have a voice and even a responsibility to be heard. So if you are somebody who is passionate about this, but you're like, I don't really have a kid in the classroom, I don't have a kid in the in one of these districts, please consider still coming out and supporting the kids who are in the classrooms. They don't have to be your kids, they don't have to be your grandkids. Just come out and stand, in the Edwardsville School District, where I will be tomorrow. It's outside of Hadley House by the middle school, which is the old high school. I think that kind of dates me that I call it the old high school. I think it's Lincoln. Yes. And, just stand there. And like I said, I have 50 of these signs. I don't know, maybe 10 people will show up and you'll have to hold 5 signs, or maybe we'll have 100 people show up and I wish I would have printed more. But if you are interested in coming out, kids are welcome. Generations are welcome. I think Ryan Wiggins said that he's going to come out. Brad, are you going to try to make it?
I'm going to try to make it. Yeah.
I told him, I said, put everything about the show in the back burner. Just forget about it and come to the rally and let's just show up and be supportive of this. I don't have a kid in the Edwardsville School District. I have kids that I send to a Lutheran parochial school. That was important to me before COVID happened, but they've done such a great job in handling this situation. I'm so grateful that I had that choice. Looking back on what Steve and what Ryan were saying there too about school choice, like that's the next step here. But this is first, and this is something we should all be able to get behind. And I would love to see anybody who wants to come stand with us tomorrow, and I would love to give you a sign. I would love to run out. I don't know that I will, but I would love for that to be the case. I have to go pick them up at Office Max tomorrow. Hopefully they have them done. They said they could do next day. They said they could do next day printing, so hopefully they will. So.
Amanda says she'll bring you $1 for a sign.
You don't have to give me $1.
She can't wait.
Amanda's great. She's a great supporter of the show. Let's see. Rachel says, thank you all. Our district was not in the case and said last Sunday night it didn't apply to them. My son took a stand and I sent paperwork from Awake, Illinois, and the lawyer Ryan posted. By Monday evening, the district changed to recommended, not required. Yeah, Rachel, well done on your part for your kiddo. I have a message here from a friend of mine who has a kid in the Collinsville Public School District, and it's a video of him telling his kiddo that he didn't have to wear a mask. The kid is so happy. And this dad said, I cried. I'm crying for these kids, what they did to them. It's about to be over, and you can't forget where we were. Like, you have to keep pushing forward for common sense.
Yeah. So there's no way we're going back, right? I feel like this is it. Once these schools have gone mask optional, that's it.
I think so. I mean, it's really up to people. Like, you can give it, it's your freedom to give up. What you can, I mean, this is not exactly the same, but you can vote your way into socialism. You'll have to shoot your way out. You can hand over your freedoms and your liberties here, and then they can come back and say, well, sorry, we're going to move it back because the governor said blah, blah, blah. If everyone goes, oh man, that was such a bummer, it was a really fun 2 weeks, and you go back, then yeah, you can go back, but it's your choice. Mm-hmm. It's up to you. And that's really where we are with this. So please consider going to your local school district. I'm going to hang it up here for now and go help my husband with the baby, who's been a real baby, if you know what I mean, here lately. And we'll be back tomorrow. We're going to speak with Jeannie Ives at 12:25, who has been leading the charge. She's in Wheaton, Illinois, the Wheaton area up north, and is going to. We've partnered with her. I mean, this is a grassroots effort to get it. It might be 20 people at school districts all across the state, but we're going to all do it at the same time from 3:30 to 5 tomorrow. And Jeannie Ives and her podcast Breakthrough Ideas is part of this effort. So she's going to be on the show tomorrow at 12:25. I'm looking forward to talking to her about
That's
it.
exciting. I don't think we've talked to her since I've been part of the show.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
she's great.
Yeah. I mean, I remember her talking before I was part of the show, but.
Yeah. All right. Well, Brad, I will see you tomorrow. Thank you, everyone else who has been here tonight. Very last minute thrown together conversation with Ryan Cunningham with Speak for Students, and Steve Lucie with Awake Illinois and We Stand for Students, and State Rep Blaine Willauer of the 107th District, which I can't believe that I remember it's the 107th off the top of my head.
Skill.
Yeah. If you do go to a rally tomorrow, take a picture and send it to the Andy Fry Show Facebook page, and we'll put together a few pictures from around the state of people who've stood up for their rights and stood up for their kids. It's exciting.
Yep.
All right. Thank you, Brad. Appreciate it. Good night, everybody. Thanks for being here.
Guys.
We appreciate you so much.